Uh-oh. Okay, we'll start with this. Sources. Reigning WBO featherweight champion Rafael Espinoza is slated to defend his featherweight title versus Arnold Khegai in Mexico. Rafael Espinoza is slated to defend his belt versus Arnold Khegai November 15th in Mexico, sources told The Ring. The Ring reported that Espinoza would return on this date, but the opponent had not yet been finalized. Widespread rumors indicated that it might have been former IBF champion Luis Lopez that he faced. You know, Luis Lopez suffered a brain bleed when he lost to Angelo Leo when he got knocked out. So turning around and fighting Rafael after that, it's a suicide mission. Espinoza is the Ring's #1 boxer at 126. The belt will be his 4th title defense and the first title fight in his native Mexico. Espinoza last fought in Mexico 2 years ago in July, one fight before he won the title over Cuba's Robeisy Ramirez in the Ring's 2023 upset of the year. Espinoza, 27-0 with 23 KOs, defeated Ramirez a second time the following year. The 31-year-old is coming off of a 7th-round TKO win over Edward Vasquez in May. So another fight where he's not unifying, huh? Seems like bringing unification matches to 126 will remain elusive for what remains of this year. Nobody's unifying nothing there. Nobody's going to. El Divino possesses dizzying height for his weight class at 6'1". Ukraine's Khegai will concede 8 inches at 5'5". The 33-year-old will be fighting for his first world title. Khegai dropped a split decision to Joet Gonzalez in March, the second defeat of his career. The other came against Stephen Fulton 5 years ago in 2020. He returned with a stay-busy win over Liborio Solis earlier this month. Now he's going to be challenging El Divino in November. What do I think about the fight?
What?
Well, I've seen Arnold Khegai here and there, and he is a live animal. He's durable, and he does come to fight. So a fight between him and Rafael makes for a barn burner.
Yeah.
It does.
Yeah.
But are we going to get to see it? Top Rank still ain't announced a broadcast partner, and until they do, well, I don't know if we're going to get to see this fight. Kurt Chava, ESPN. Lindolfo Delgado versus Gabriel Valenzuela IBF Super Lightweight title eliminator will be on that undercard. Emiliano Vargas and Richard Torres are also expected to box on that show. A byproduct of Top Rank's relationship with Zenfer, they're using Zenfer as a means to keep their fighters active while they sort out a deal with a new broadcaster. But once again, I don't know that we're going to get to see any of these guys fight. This is a Zenfer Promotions show. They're at the helm of the promotion, so I don't imagine they're going to pay through the nose for top-level opponents for Emiliano, for Richard. These are going to be stay-busy opponents. These are going to be stay-busy fights.
Nothing crazy.
Just like Rafael Espinoza versus Arnold Khegai. It's a solid little fight, but it ain't nothing crazy. Starting to get the sense that we're not going to get a unification match at this weight unless Turki El Sheikh intervenes, because it seems like everybody with a belt at this weight is waiting for someone else. They're waiting for Inoue, which for me is really frustrating, because you can mix and match the names at 126, anybody with a belt, and you're going to get a great fight every single time.
They don't want to do it. Not unless it's for big money.
Over to the men's junior middleweight division, where Sebastian Fundora sensed something was bothering Tszyu before their rematch. Sebastian Fundora sensed something was wrong with Tszyu. Before their rematch 2 months ago, Fundora doesn't know exactly what bothered the former WBO junior middleweight champion during Fight Week in Vegas. Whatever it was, Fundora feels it adversely affected Tszyu when they fought for the 6'6" Southpaw's WBC title July 19th at the MGM Grand Garden Arena. You could see something was bothering him, and again, this is the World Series. You cannot do things like that. Those are mistakes that you will take into the fight. Though Bakram Murtazaliev tends to get credit for being the one that ruined Tszyu on October 19th, Fundora feels he was the opponent who changed him in their first fight.
There is an argument there. That was a physically taxing fight, a bloodbath that could have left Tszyu damaged.
Fundora won that bloodbath by split decision in March of last year. Tszyu, whose head inadvertently hit Fundora's elbow late in the second round, fought through a ghastly gash in the middle of his hairline for 10 rounds. Russia's Murtazaliev dropped Tszyu 4 times, 3 times in the second round and once in the third. Tszyu entered the ring as a 7-1 favorite, but Murtazaliev overwhelmed him to successfully defend his IBF junior middleweight belt. They're gonna have a different mindset on fighting forever now. After that first fight, Fundora said, "I think he definitely took a lot of damage in the first fight." I don't think he took too much damage versus Murtazaliev. It's just, again, after that first fight, they're going to be worried about their fighter, and he's going to be worried about himself. We saw how he came out the first round versus Murtazaliev. He wasn't focused at all. You could see him touching for a cut, and a lot of people still don't want to give me credit for all of that. Fundora of Coachella, California, and Thurman of Clearwater, Florida, will headline a PBC Champions pay-per-view. DraftKings lists Fundora as more than a 4-1 favorite to beat Thurman, a former WBA, WBC welterweight champion.
Says it all, doesn't it? That there are 2 other champions at the weight alongside Sebastian Fundora, but he's fighting Keith Thurman. You have newly crowned WBO champion Xander Zayas. You have IBF champion Bakram Murtazaliev, but look at who Sebastian is fighting. And you also have Sebastian's mandatory Virgil Ortiz.
I mean, between Zayas and Ortiz, those would be more high-profile fights, bigger money fights than fighting Keith Thurman and fighting him behind a paywall.
Sebastian wants all the credit for being the one that ruined Tszyu. And maybe he did, but it wasn't without some angling. I'm of the opinion that while Tim thought he was going to fight Keith Thurman,
and he was getting ready to fight Keith Thurman, it was always their plan to swap him out with Sebastian. The exact opposite of Keith Thurman, where Keith is an orthodox fighter, Sebastian is a southpaw. Where Keith is a rather modest 5'7", Sebastian is a statuesque 6'3", 6'4". And where Keith is an older fighter in his mid-30s, Sebastian is in his 20s. It was always their intention to pull the old switcheroo on Tim Tszyu, and they did.
So maybe Sebastian is the one that ruined Tszyu, but it wasn't without angling. There's angling to everything Sebastian Fundora does.
Think about what happened before their rematch. Sebastian was under orders to fight Xander Zayas in defense of his WBO title because Xander was his mandatory. What does he do? He drops that belt. He fights Tszyu again instead.
For obvious reasons. He's telling himself, I beat him before, I'll beat him again. That's a lot less risky than fighting Xander. That's a lot less risky than unifying with Bakram.
He doesn't really mention unifying titles with Bakram Murtazaliev, and look at who he's fighting. You're fighting Keith Thurman, who's done what to earn a shot at a title at 154?
Nothing. He's done absolutely nothing. Sebastian's only fighting him because it's a safer fight than what else is out there. The illusion of fighting a big name.
That illusion when Keith Thurman hasn't been relevant in the sport of boxing for ages. 4 years. You can give Sebastian Fundora credit if you want to for the victories that he's amassed, but I maintain that those victories were not without a lot of angling.
Terrence Crawford talked about that recently when he sat down and did an interview with his old buddy, Andre Ward.
I'm like, all right, I want to fight Fondora, you know, because I'm WBO. I can fight any one of the champions. He was WBC and WBO. So I'm like, I want to fight Fondora. You know what I mean? He got 2 belts. I want to become undisputed at 154. That was my train of thought. But when he said he didn't want to fight me because I wasn't basically big enough, I looked at him like, huh? I don't sell. That's what his handlers were saying. Oh, I don't sell, and they want to fight Errol Spence because he's a bigger fighter.
But you knew what that was, though.
Yeah. It's cool. I'm not tripping on that because now they begging for a fight. Now they want to fight me now. I don't sell, so there's no need for you to even mention my name no more. Don't say Terrence Crawford.
Yeah.
You know, all these guys that see now, they say, oh, he's the ticket. Win, lose, or draw, he's the ticket. I'll fight Terrence Crawford. Come on, man. Boots had a chance to fight me. Virgil Ortiz had an opportunity to fight me, you know, but now everybody, oh, I'll fight Terrence, or I'm this, I'm that. I'm like, okay, cool. When y'all had y'all opportunity, you know, y'all went elsewhere. But now that y'all see I'm the ticket, now y'all like, oh, yeah, we want to fight Terrence Crawford. We want Terrence Crawford. That's the narrative now. We want to fight Terrence Crawford.
The Fundora thing, you seen that play coming a mile away. Like, as soon as that fight was even talked about, I said, it's going to be a phone call made, and he finna walk that back. Whether he wanted to fight or not, he wasn't going to be allowed to, and you know that. You know, Allen then made that call and was like, nah, we ain't going that way, you know, so. But
No lies were told there. I remember the night of that fight. Immediately after Sebastian beat Tim Tszyu, Samson Lukowicz, who handles Sebastian's career, said it right then and there. Terrence has to wait because we want to fight Spence. Errol Spence, who was seated ringside and entered the ring after the fight to do a mock face-off. They were going to try to go around Terrence Crawford with Errol Spence, who was still coming off the loss to Terrence Crawford.
So believe me when I say that there's been a lot of angling to get Sebastian to a title, to get him the success that he's having, and maybe that's why people don't respect it as much as he would like.
You don't want to fight your mandatory challenges, whether it's Xander Zayas or Terrence Crawford. You would rather fight the guy that Terrence beat the hell out of. And do you remember when Xander Zayas was ringside for one of Sebastian's fights? He wanted to do a face-off to set up the fight between them, and his sister wouldn't even let him do it.
Gabby put her foot down. Gabby said no, there's no need.
It's almost like she knew. Her big bro had no intention of fighting Xander, like he had no intention of fighting Terrence. Terrence Crawford, who the PBC spent some years freezing out, protecting their fighters from him because they knew what would happen.
They've always known.
The other part of the story, there are still people out there who try to rewrite history to propagate this narrative that Terrence Crawford signing an extension to Top Rank is the reason he never got to fight Danny, or he never got to fight Keith.
Bullshit.
The whole sides of the street thing. You remember. Except that Tyson Fury was on the same side of the street as Terrence Crawford at the time he fought Wilder for the second fight and the third.
He was with Top Rank, the same as Terrence.
And you still have people out there trying to rewrite history, saying that because Terrence signed an extension with Top Rank, that's why he didn't get those fights.
Saying that he was hiding behind Bob Arum?
So what happened to Errol Spence Jr. once Bob Arum was out of the picture and the fight took place, the fight between Terrence and Errol?
You saw what happened.
And at the time that Terrence Crawford is installed as Sebastian Fundora's mandatory challenger, Bob Arum wasn't in the picture then either.
What happened there? Why did Sebastian's team want him to fight Errol Spence Jr. instead of Terrence Crawford when Terrence wasn't with Top Rank anymore? Why?
Because the PBC are a bunch of pussies. That's why.
So are the fans.
Bunch of fruitcakes trying to rewrite history because Al Heyman's PBC is an abject failure and his fighters are not up to scratch. They never were. Every single one of them running from Terrence Crawford.
Got the Spence fight. After the Spence fight, I'm like, I want to fight Canelo. You know what I mean? Spence was basically contracted to fight Canelo if he would have beat me at 164. You know, and I was just like, damn. Since I beat him, I should get the opportunity.
right.
Would seem that the universe has a sense of humor, as Terrence Crawford has turned out to be the fighter they pretended Errol Spence was.
So remember when Spence used to say he'd become undisputed at welterweight? He didn't. Terence Crawford did. And behind the scenes, clandestinely, there was a plan to put Errol in the ring with Canelo.
But Errol didn't make it there. Terence Crawford did. And not only did he make it there, he won. He won emphatically.
So why do so many people refuse to give Terence Crawford his flowers? Give him his just due.
Why?
Well, there's a lot going on there. I mean, there are some narratives. The whole love of Al Heyman.
Do you think the Heymanites were at all happy when Terence Crawford was the first to knock out Sean Porter, or when he manhandled and mangled Errol Spence Jr.? Do you think they were gonna be in a hurry to give him credit?
In him winning, he proved the Heymanites wrong. He made them all look like a bunch of fucking idiots, which they are.
Is it that they love Al Heyman more than they love boxing?
Sort of.
This obsession with Al Heyman has everything to do with it being a black-owned business, and because it is, they believe it should be exempted of any criticism of any kind, whether it's their business practices or their fighters.
Even though their fighters suck.
They'd have me and you believe that the only reason that Al Heyman is being criticized is because the critics are bigots.
Bullshit.
Of course it's bullshit. And they were happy to peddle that bullshit until Terence Crawford came along. Terence Crawford ruined all of that.
So they're not going to give him a fair shake. They're not going to give him his just due. Not for making them look like a bunch of fucking bozos.
Look at what they've been doing in the 2 years that followed his big win over Errol Spence Jr., making excuses and still tearing him down, claiming that he never fought anybody good, that Errol was damaged.
Then why'd so many of you guys pick him to win?
In the subsequent 2 years that followed Terence's big win over Errol, they've been trying hard to rewrite history and devalue that victory.
But now he's gone ahead and done something that they can't tear down. They can't devalue. He went all the way up there to 168.
He did what Errol Spence Jr. was supposed to do, except Errol Spence Jr. didn't make it there. Terence Crawford did because he's better. He was always better. Better than Errol, better than Keith, better than Danny, better than Sean, better than the entire PBC roster, better than all of them.
Better.
So can you imagine how much it burns them up to be this wrong this many times about this same guy? They fucking hate Terence Crawford.
They've been protecting their hype jobs from Terence Crawford for years.
So that when I see some jackass on Facebook claiming that Errol did all the heavy lifting and Terence was hiding from who? Keith Thurman?
What the fuck are you on, drugs?
Who's he hiding from? Danny Garcia? He was hiding from Danny Garcia.
Spence?
Oh, what, he was hiding from Errol Spence? Errol's the one who said he was on the wrong side of the street. Errol's the reason that fight took so goddamn long to make.
Fundora?
Terence wasn't even with Top Rank anymore when he became Sebastian Fundora's mandatory. Can't use them as an excuse. Why did Sebastian's handler want to put him in the ring with Spence, the guy Terence just beat the hell out of, instead of with Terence? It's very obvious why.
It's always been obvious.
PBC fighters really ain't that good. Top Rank's vetting process is superior, and that's why Top Rank fighters, or fighters who were vetted at Top Rank, usually beat the hell out of PBC guys. Usually, that's how it goes. And that burns the Heymanites up.